Don't look now, but the Cardinals are starting to play some pretty good baseball. What's going on, everyone, and welcome in to this edition of B-Schaeff Daily. Brenden Schaeffer with you here, evening hours of Friday, August 23rd, 2024, as the Cardinals have gotten off on the right foot to their weekend series up in Minnesota, taking down the Twins on Friday night 6-1. How about Andre Pallante? I mean, we cannot say enough good things about the job that this guy has done since being inserted into the starting rotation back on May 29th. He has been absolutely nails and was again tonight. Think about coming into this game, last two starts prior to this one. 5 2/3, 1 earned run, 7 innings, 2 earned runs against the Dodgers. And now he follows that up with 7 innings of 1-run baseball, lowering his ERA for the season down several notches below 4. He's at 3.84. And that's including the beginning of the year when he was in the bullpen and racking up about a 6 ERA through, the demotion that he had. He's been absolutely fantastic since joining the rotation. I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do if they really think that Lance Lynn and Steven Matz are going to come back. I guess you could go 6-man rotation and put Matz in the bullpen, Lynn into the rotation. You can do whatever you want. Palante's not going anywhere. He's the team's best starter of late. And it's not really even been a recent development. The consistency that he has displayed has been really, really impressive, something to see. Look, there are games where he's going to struggle. The one against the Mets a few weeks ago was not great, right? Gave up 5 runs, didn't get through the 5th inning. It's really the only time you can say that about him, though, this season. I mean, he has been so very good for the Cardinals. Not much, if anything, was expected from him, especially upon his insertion to the rotation. People were kind of like, okay, I'm not sure I get it, but I can recall, not to toot my horn, but I can recall back to even before he got the call-up saying, you know what, if the Cardinals are going to look at 2025 and maybe they're going to be a little bit careful with their payroll. That's been something we had been kind of throwing around the idea of the potential for. Why not Palante? Why not give him a look for very cheap salary and see if he can't get you 30 starts and, 170 innings of 4 ERA baseball? Could do a lot worse than that for the back end of the rotation. Palante has been absolutely fantastic. He is a ground ball pitcher who got 10 of them tonight on ground ball outs. That's what he does. Only walked a couple. One of the issues that you'd have with Palante, if you're talking about his long-term viability, is the tendency to walk guys, and he does. He walks a lot of batters. He's got 31 walks in 79 innings prior to tonight. Well, now he's got 33 in 86 innings. Only 2 over 7 is something that you'll take. It was replicated in what he did last week against the Dodgers. 2 walks over 7 last Saturday. Had 4 walks in the previous start against the Royals, but something that he's able to do is scatter those walks because of potential double play balls and just the ground balls that he gets. He'll get strikeouts when he needs them. Not a huge strikeout guy. Just 65 Ks and 86 2/3 innings this season. But Andre Pallante gets results, and he's done so for the Cardinals. And now suddenly, well, you're back to 500. Nobody needs to throw a parade. Nobody needs to go crazy. This is a series the Cardinals can sweep. Coming into it, yes, the Twins are a very good team. Yes, they are currently in a playoff spot. But the pitching matchups, the way that they lined up tonight, I thought was the advantage to the Cardinals. Starter from Minnesota did a nice enough job, but the Cardinals were able to get to him. They score 6 runs. They win this game 6-1. They contribute a little bit against the bullpen as well. You get a home run from Brendan Donovan, first time in over a month. It was good to see his offensive contributions in this game. Cardinals bats are looking a little bit different right now, and that's the key. I said if they're going to do it, it's going to be because the bats are going to carry them through. They made Festa, the starter, work a little bit in this game. He didn't get through 4, so you use up a decent portion of that bullpen, which is always something that you like to see the first game of a series. They were able to chip away at the bullpen. They got to Richards for a couple of runs late. Walks were, the plate discipline was very nice tonight for the Cardinals. They walked 9 times. Found a little bit of wrist help, not enough. I guess it was enough. They won 6-1. 2 for 12, so not a great wrist average. They didn't help the season-long totals on that. But, man, they were really good in terms of just taking their pitches. 9 walks in the game, 9 hits, 6 runs. The at-bats, the innings, the rhythm of the offense looks so much better right now for the Cardinals. And when you have a pitching matchup like Gray versus Pablo Lopez, and they were teammates last year on the Twins, both all-stars. This year, Lopez is around a 4.5 ERA. Gray's around 3.9. I'm going to give the edge to Gray, even though Lopez is going to be a tough one for the Cardinals. He hasn't had as good of a season. You might think, well, Sonny Gray hasn't lived up to expectations. Well, he's still having better numbers right now, ERA-wise, than Pablo Lopez. Gives yourself a chance. You've got your best against what should be Minnesota's best, who's just kind of underperformed this year. Cardinals win game 2. Well, you've won the series. The way that I view this is, if we're really going to talk about the playoffs for a team that right now is still stuck right at 500, you got back up to it, and that's great. But if you're really going to be even thinking remotely about the playoffs, you're going to have to win every series. And if you ever lose a series, you drop 2 of 3, you're going to have to sweep a different one. So you might as well get the sweep out of the way early. That's the way I see it. And if you can win game 2, that sets the stage for a potential sweep in game 3 where Eric Fetty is going to be on the mound against a guy who has only got 10 big league innings this season, is the scheduled starter for Minnesota. So this could be a possibility of a series sweep if the Cardinals can get it done Saturday. That's the way you got to view it, because the urgency has to be there. It has to be now. Now is the time. Cardinals are 64-64. Brewers won their most recent game. Braves won their most recent game. You didn't gain any ground. Cardinals have won 3 in a row, but still only 4 of their last 10, right? You're coming out of a period where you were really struggling. By the way, run differential is just minus 51. They're making their way downtown. They're working on it. But the Cardinals have got work to do. They're 5 out of the wild card, I should say. You do get to play the Padres here coming soon, but they also won. Diamondbacks have won 4 in a row. Diamondbacks aren't coming back to you. Padres aren't either. Only way the Padres would is if you sweep them in 4, and that at least gets you within 4 or 5 of San Diego. But even that might not be enough. And if you only win 3 of 4 against San Diego, they're up on you by 6 or 7, and it's just never going to happen. So you're really still only looking at one spot, and it's the Braves. And if they play 700 baseball the rest of the way, you're done. There's nothing you can do. There's not. You're 10 back of the Brewers, who are still playing well. Like, it might be too little too late. It arguably is. But the Cardinals are starting to put it together, and I'm going to go all the way back to last Friday, a week ago, when I said, look, this Dodgers series, they're going to feel a certain way about the way they played against the Cincinnati Reds in that series. It was putrid. They were outplayed in every facet in that sweep at Cincy. Since then, we've seen a different version of the Cardinals. You've got to sustain the offense. That's the only way that it's going to really end up working out in your favor. But tonight was a night where they absolutely did every bit of that. So they can continue looking the way that they look tonight offensively, hopefully continuing to get starts like the one that Palante gave them. Maybe there's a shot that they can continue to play good baseball. But that could look like the Cardinals, when it's 64-64, it's 128 games. So it means 34 games is all they've got left. 20-14, for instance, would be pretty good record rest of the way. Be a 588 win percentage. If you parse that over a 162 game sample, the pace would be a 95 win pace. Be very good. Then we get the Cardinals to 84. It will not be enough. The Cardinals win 22 more games. Be 22-12 the rest of the way, which is basically pretty darn close to just winning every 2 out of 3 that you get. It's not quite that. It's a 647 win percentage. If the Cardinals were to have that pace the rest of the year, it'd be 104.8 over a 162 game season. It's a 105 win pace. That would get the Cardinals to 86 if from now to the end of the season they go on a 105 win pace. And they just won 3 in a row. So even with what they've just done, 105 win pace gets them to 86. I mean, the Brewers right now are so far ahead of you, it's not even worth talking about. Is it 9.5 games up? Or no, 10 games up. A clear 10 games. You play them 3 more times. But I don't even think it's worth looking at. The Braves right now are 10 games above 500, 69-59. I believe they've played the same number of games as the Cardinals. It's a 539 winning percentage. The 162 game pace on that is 87.3. So again, the Cardinals could go on a 105 win pace between now and the end of the season, and they would still get only 86 wins. That's probably not going to be enough. Let's keep going. 23 out of 34, a 23-11. Would that be enough? Get to 87. Well, the Braves are right now pacing for 83.7 wins. It's going to be tough sledding, Cardinals fans. And that's why I really don't tend to spend too much time talking about the standings, because there's nothing they can do other than win their own games. When there are teams on their schedule that are ahead of them in the standings, well, that could work in their favor, because if they sweep those teams, maybe that could be the dual whammy, double punch they need to try and find somebody to claw back. It's like dragging them down to hell. See that horror movie? I've seen some clips of that on social media. The lady gets like dragged under a train station. Spoiler alert. That's the only way. The Cardinals have to drag somebody down with them and try and claw their way back out of this. Even as they're playing good baseball, you can look at the calendar and feel like it could be too late. But we'll see. Let me know, Cardinals fans, where you at? Are you liking the way you're seeing your ball club play this week? Because you should. You should feel good about it in a vacuum. But you can simultaneously be disappointed that it took them as long as it did to get it going, because at this point, it may be too little too late, even as much as they are playing some better baseball. This looks like it was supposed to look the entire season. We'll see if these Cardinals can sustain that. Even sustaining it, as I outlined, could end up just not being enough. You're rooting against the Braves, and you're rooting for a Cardinal sweep against the Padres before you can even bother to start rooting against the Padres. It's kind of the way I see it. Let me know how you see it, Cardinals fans, as we go along here. A couple other thoughts from tonight's game, and then we will have to do a little bit of down on the farm. This will be a quick video, by the way. I'm going to Louisville over the weekend. Wife and I and the son are going to go for just a weekend trip. We need to do more traveling, and Cardinals are on the road, so perfect time to do it. And that may kind of make it interesting as far as content the rest of the weekend. I'll still try to hop on, even if it's just a 15, 20-minute video like this one, give you guys something. But I wanted to talk about a couple of other things from tonight's game that struck me. I did highlight the notion of limiting walks for Palante being the thing that can take him to the next level. Only 2 over 7 innings. If he keeps them down, he's going to be okay in this league. Even with the walks, he's been okay in this league this year, because he gets away with them due to the ground ball tendencies. But when he doesn't walk guys, and like 2 walks in 7 innings, that'll count as doing your job. It makes life even easier. It's going to be like a cheat code for him if he can keeping the ball in the strike zone. He's a good pitcher, folks. Cardinals have sort of lucked into him because I don't think they were expecting it, but it's good that it's happened. And I think he should be in not only the rotation the rest of the year without question, but 2025 too. I'm just going to pencil him in. I'm not looking to replace him with some 35-year-old veteran that they go out and sign kind of like they did last year to piecemeal it together. I'm just going to say Palante's in there. We don't have to keep doubting him. For what he does it very well. And I think he's gotten better since a couple of years ago, his first stint in the rotation. This is my opinion. Cardinals are playing crisper baseball for the most part. Some savvy, good, quality baseball plays tonight. The double steal in the 4th inning was good to see. Contreras had the hustle double. Those little things that can turn into something bigger. Was good to see Donnie's home run. The one thing that I am saying, at least, and let me know if there's anything else that stood out to you guys tonight in terms of not good baseball. I have no earthly idea what Tommy Pham was doing in the 7th inning at third base. There's just no other explanation other than lackadaisical play. And he's had some moments, like he's supposed to be the guy that's just balls to the wall no matter what. So it's a little bit frustrating. I do not know what happened there. It didn't matter. Cardinals win the game 6-1, but he just was kind of just kind of waltzing back into third base instead of sliding, taking it seriously. It was like a 7-5 or 7-6-5 or 7-5-6 double play where they got him at third. That wasn't good. But otherwise, you're seeing a very much more crisp version of the Cardinals right now. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take recognizing there's no margin for error, and so you just don't make any. That's kind of where the Cardinals are getting to at this point in time. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on the way the game played out, but it was largely one that a well-pitched game, not great with RISP, 2 for 12, but you had so many opportunities that it was just bound to be one that ended up going pretty well. Really good stuff tonight from the Cardinals. It's not going to win a more World Series. They're going to have to do a lot more, and they're going to have to keep it going. We need to go down on the farm, though, because there is some more good news to share. There were some things that happened in Memphis tonight that you're going to want to know about. So let's do it. It's time to go down on the farm. Brought to you by Hastings Layers Premium Eggs.
You'll be happier than a jackass eating thistle.
Huh? I've been telling you guys for a little while now that Quinn Mathews is the best prospect in the Cardinals organization, best pitching prospect at least. You make the argument if you want for J.J. Weatherholt, but he's not quite as advanced. Quinn Mathews is the best prospect in the Cardinals organization, period. He's going to enter next season, mark my words, as a top 25 prospect in MLB. You heard me. He's going to enter next season as a top 25 prospect in baseball, whether it's prospectus or MLB pipeline or Baseball America. He will be top 25. Not in the org, in the sport. Quinn Mathews entered the night, this is from Pipeline, leading the minors in strikeouts. And remember, it's happened over a number of levels because he started at low A, bumped up to Peoria, bumped up to double A. Tonight, 7 2/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. 2.27 ERA on the season across the 3 levels. He will be in Memphis before the end of the year. There's no reason to start him again in Springfield. Just bump him up. He shouldn't make another start in Springfield. If he does, that's fine. I'm sure Springfield fans disagree. They're like, nope, I want to see him 5 days from now. This kid rocks. He is so advanced in terms of, he's going 7 2/3. He had a no-no going for pretty deep into this game. He can get up on pitch count. It's not like they have to keep the kid gloves on him. There's something so refreshing about that. And I hate that when I say that, it's almost like a knock on Tink Hens. It's not Tink's fault. But he's not 6'4", 6'5", 210, or whatever Quinn Mathews is. He's not 24 like Quinn Mathews is. He's 20, 21, 22. Actually, Quinn Mathews isn't 24. I keep calling him 24. He'll turn 24 in October. I should know better than to take an age away from a guy as someone who just turned 30. It's not what I was looking for. Quinn Mathews listed at 6'5", 188. I think he'll pack on some more muscle as he goes. But this dude is out of his mind. And the lefty changeup is straight MLB The Show stuff. The changeup that he can put low and away from right-handed hitters. This dude's nasty. This dude, and I talked, go back and watch the podcast from Friday morning between myself and Josh Jacobs. Our Philosophical Differences podcast drops on Fridays on the YouTube channel, as well as on the B-Schaeff Daily feed on Spotify. And we kind of talked about the 2025 rotation, what it could look like. And for me, I've been hesitant. I don't want to say, yeah, Quinn Mathews could make the rotation out of camp. He's going to show up to camp with something to prove. I would say it's a long shot for that to happen. But if he finishes strong this year, stays healthy, and comes into next year with something to prove, Quinn Mathews is going to make a number of starts for the 2025 Cardinals. He has been the biggest riser. He will be the minor league pitcher of the year in the organization. That will be an award that he receives, bar none, period, the end. And this guy is going to come into next year suddenly knocking on the door. A kid that was drafted last summer in the 4th round. I loved the pick from the moment it happened because all I knew about him at the time was he threw 156 pitches in one game with Stanford trying to get to the College World Series. And I said, hell yeah. How different is that? And from a 6'5" lefty, how did this guy go to the 4th round? Sometimes it's just as simple as it looks. And with Quinn Mathews, it is. He's gonna make Randy Flores be able to look at these exit interviews this year and say, hey, you might not like some of the things that have happened in the org, but you better keep me around. I'll find the next Quinn Mathews. And look, I think largely we like the job Flo has done, but we've also had times where we've looked at it and gone, the drafting has been good. They keep having these prospects, but they come up and they don't do anything. But Flores gets them to the point where it's like, hey, man, at that point, get to the big leagues and thrive. But I've drafted him. I've put people in position. Quinn Mathews is the next in line, and I think this guy's going to be he's going to be the answer to the question of, well, when's the last time the Cardinals developed a homegrown starter? He might be the one. And if you can get Tink Hens to 120 innings or so next year, look, he was supposed to get to 100 this year, and it's not going to happen. But Tink Hens, Quinn Mathews headlining the rotation in 26, there's a world in which the Cardinals can piecemeal this thing together with some of the young talent on the way. They're going to have to continue to draft well, and they're going to have to add from the exterior or get some of the young guys like Newt Barr and Walker and Gorman to ascend. And I realized, too, I said Memphis. There were some things happening in Memphis. Quinn Mathews, I'm going to correct it now. So if you're one of those that comments before you listen to the end of the podcast, I've issued the correction, so chill. But Quinn Mathews is in Springfield. I'm just not going to go back to edit it because I got to get to bed. But he's in Springfield. There is something that happened in Memphis that I am going to make sure we get to before I wrap up this podcast. But yep, Quinn Mathews, man, he has been a sight to behold. The improvements, I mean, he's gotten to Double-A and was not maybe striking out the world yet, was kind of working his way through some, just kind of getting used to the level, I think. And ultimately, he's used to the level. Didn't get the win, unfortunately, in the game. Springfield won 3-2, but it was the tied score that ended up taking place in the top of the ninth. Kind of a blown save situation where the blown save guy, Ralston, got the win. But 7 2/3, he's got a 2.41 ERA at Springfield, 2.27 ERA overall, 12 Ks in 7 2/3. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Quinn Mathews is coming. He's on the way, Cardinals fans. So that was going down in Springfield. I do want to talk about Memphis a little bit because a name you know, a name you want to love, again, is Nolan Gorman. He had a home run tonight. His first of the season with Memphis. Obviously, he's new down there. 2 for 4 with a home run. Nolan Gorman just needs a reset. If he can come up strong, he can get what he needs to kind of get his timing back. I know it's easier said than done because you could end up seeing Gorman come right back up and start flailing it out of the zone pitches, off speed, whatever, high strike, high fastball. But I think just getting him some confidence is the best thing for him right now. So he does that. Jordan Walker was 0 for tonight. Whatever. Not going to overreact to that. Memphis got the 4-1 win. Michael McGreevy, 6 innings, shutout, had 7 Ks. There's a world in which the Cardinals reorganize this offseason. Let's say they don't make the playoffs and they do trim payroll. But there's a world in which that forces them almost into finding out more about these internal guys. I don't know how you frame it, and I talked a lot more with this about this with Josh Jacobs on Philosophical Differences on Friday. But it's almost like even if some of your high-dollared players ask or request or demand a trade and you grant it, you could end up with a lower payroll that almost says, hey, look, we know that it's maybe not, we're not coming into the year predicting 90 wins as an organization, but we believe we have young talent that we're going to give an opportunity to. We're going to about face. We've tried to sign veterans to flex seal and piecemeal this together the last couple of years, and it did not work. We're going to go different. Our rotation is going to feature Palante. It's going to feature a shot for McGreevy out of camp. It's going to, because look, he looked great in his one start with the big club. I think there's a world in which if they really do fade out of it at the end of September, McGreevy needs to make a big league start again. Maybe McGreevy and Quinn Mathews and maybe Graceffo, maybe Palante, maybe Tink Hence by 2026 or late 2025. You could have a total turnover in the rotation where finally the team that we've talked so much about not being able to develop starters, you could have a group of homegrown guys. But the only way I think you get to that is by almost accepting your fate a little bit. If this year doesn't turn into the playoffs, the fan base will have to give some grace to this, but I think the people in the know and the people that follow the minors will understand that this might be realistic and reasonable to not go out and spend a bunch more money on next year's Lance Lynn or Kyle Gibson, but say we're going to cut it back a little bit, but not long term. It's a 1-year dial back to refresh the organization, to make sure the farm is stocked, to do all the things that need to be done infrastructure-wise, and then you hit it hard in offseason after 2025, after you find out what is McGreevy, what is Tink Hence, what is Quinn Mathews, what is Palante, what is Graceffo, Robertson, Kloffenstein. You find out because you leave these spots in the rotation open for some of those guys. Like Sonny will still be here unless he asks for a trade. But Matz, you could eat that money. Michaelis, theoretically, you could eat that money. I think they won't because they know he'll throw 180, 190 innings if they ask him to. But I also think there's a world in which you look at some of these younger guys and maybe see what they're made of. You're not going to predict going in, and you're not going to be whoever the Pobo is, if it's Mo or somebody else. You're not going to sit in front of the Cardinals fans and say, we think we're going to contend this year. You could say we'd like to, but we're going to do it in a different way. We're going to do it by building the foundation and not blocking as the Cardinals have done for so many years because they've always been pressure to win now. You can't see what Arozarena is about. You can't see what Sandy Alcantara is about. You don't feel comfortable seeing some of those guys in the roles that they might be able to have with a lesser organization because they can just run them out there and whatever they do in the big leagues for a season, they do it. And suddenly those guys are good players because they've learned without the threat of maybe if I have a bad outing, I'm back to the minors. I'm not saying the Cardinals have been totally in the wrong for approaching it that way for years because there is a level of expectation in St. Louis. Maybe the not worst thing in the world would be them to not have as much expectation in 2025, and that could allow them to unlock what the next iteration of the Cardinals looks like. So that's kind of my thoughts. I gave you a little down on the farm. We talked Quinn Mathews, we talked Gorman, we talked Palante's win tonight. Cardinals fans, let me know what you think. That'll do it for this edition of the podcast. I will try to check in with y'all over the weekend as well, but it'll be a little bit of a different version, not high quality in terms of the audio. Just bear with me. But we'll keep talking Cardinals, especially if they keep winning. And there's stuff to say. Because, look, I don't think you can count them out yet, but they've got a long way to go. And they need some help. So they basically got to keep winning. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you next time on B-Schaeff Daily. Peace.